Hello, everybody. How is everyone doing today? Happy Thursday. Government shutdown continues. Fed cut the rates yesterday. Got some interesting moves in the market. Good morning, John. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Heinrich. Good morning, Anissa. Good morning, Mark. Hello, Charles. Good morning to people over on Rumble. By the way, we'll get to that. I got a request on X for the indicator settings, so we'll start off that after I get through the key stuff. Again, no unemployment numbers today. No initial, I should say, initial and continuing jobless claims because of the shutdown. Still continuing. So we have Bowman speaking. We got 4 and 8 week pill options, but we got Logan speaking. Again, Fed cut yesterday, but the big thing yesterday was two things: QT, quantitative tightening, stopping in on December 1st, and uh, stressing that the rate cut in December is not guaranteed. Hello, Rick. Charles has his bear sense tingling. So, we're definitely pulling back in the short term. Dollar. Anybody spot the dollar move? Good morning, OD Green. Been talking about the dollar forever. Potential mini double bottom in gold. Let's see if that triggers. Percent B did not. What else do we got going on? All right, tomorrow, we're not gonna have the PCE numbers. Even as the shutdown ended, I don't think we get the PCE numbers. We just got some more Fed speak tomorrow. So far, we had key earnings yesterday. Meta. Disappointed with earnings, and the double continues to play out. Chipotle also stressing slowdown with their major consumer base and inflation in the mid figures. Like, I assume that means around 5%. They're seeing inflation closer to 5%. So there is inflation out there. You know what? I don't want to hear there's no inflation. By the way, all the mega caps except for Google, which crushed earnings, is up nearly over 7%. Lilly is up also. You have Amazon, Microsoft beat, but is down. Amazon and Apple after the close today. So, Charles is we'll get to a chart in Chipotle in a second. Where is my little Chipotle here? It should be very, very red. Where's Chipotle here? Can I not see it? It's got to be very red. Oh, well, I'll have to look for it later. I thought it would jump out at me. Groups, comm services with with Google or Alphabet. Sorry, I'll always call it Google. Leading. That's the reason it's up. But everything else, well, healthcare is also up slightly with Lilly, but everything else is lagging. Fed Watch now has a pause. 68.8% for December. We'll have to watch how that changes. And a pause for January and a pause for March. So a pretty big shift there. Pretty big shift here. And greed still in fear mode. Schiller PE, 41.20. We already talked about this. So we'll take a look at those charts. Good morning, Legion Reaver. You got to remind me, Charles. And tomorrow afternoon we have Amazon and Apple after close and Coinbase. Tomorrow morning we have Exxon and Chevron are the biggies tomorrow morning. We also had where was MasterCard? Is that MasterCard or was that the other day? I forget. When was MasterCard? It's not on here. MasterCard was like today, I thought. But let's keep going. Let me go through the indicators real quick. Hello, David. Thank you for tuning in. We're missing Sterling today. All right, settings. RSI, I usually use a 4. Right now, set the 4 period, 4 or 5. It really doesn't matter. They're very close on a close. Right now, I'm testing some stuff out. That's why it's with the 4. Again, the Bollinger Band percent B is a length of 5, standard deviation 1, high, low, close divided by 3. All right. The Stochastic RSI, I use two different ones. Right now, this is set to an 8335. So RSI is an 8%, D and K are threes, and stochastic is a 5. That's where we sit. That's where it's currently set to. Worth holding coin into earnings. Well, coin has a tech trigger double bottom. So if you're already in it, hold. If not, you know what? If you're not already having a position, I'd just sit on the sidewalk, sit on the sidelines. What else do we have? Let's just jump to a couple other key things. Meta. So here's your meta. Still had this, did not invalidate the double top, this little run up, and the big gap down coming closer to second target. And I'm really watching this 50 area on the weekly and the 200 area. It's real close to, it's going to gap just below that, but the next official double target would be 670. And if it continues lower, 652. Chipotle, also the huge double, which never was invalidated. Already had hit the first target and now down through the second target and possibly going to converge with the third target. Also, it already broke the 200, come up to test it, and the earnings. It was not necessarily earnings, although they missed on revenue. It was really the guidance. Really the guidance. So those are that. Now, S&P. I mean, we've had this. Look at this run up. Now, we do have a mini potential double top. Mini potential double top needs a close below 6882.25 to trigger. And it would also trigger below the 4-hour rotation zone, and that would be to a return to the daily rotation zone. We still have a gap left behind from Friday to Sunday. And remember, it's the lower probability kind because it is in the daily rotation zone. So you got to be more nimble if you're playing it from the short side. If not, the key areas I'm going to be focusing on over the next few days is a potential gap fill if the sell-off continues. We were overbought, dropping out of there. So that is pretty key, and that's yesterday's low from the volatility with the Fed meeting. All right. NASDAQ also has, I should go back to S&P. Sorry about that. To the upside, I'm looking, if we do rally, 69.27 area. And then it would be the highs 69.54, 55. If we did take those out over the next little bit or the next couple days, the next target's just above 7,000. There you go. The NASDAQ also has a mini double top, 26,049.25 would be the pullback. It would also take it below the 4-hour rotation zone. And we still have a Sunday night gap behind, but that doesn't even go to the gap fill. That just barely, the second target is the rotation zone on the daily. Doesn't even retrace the move to the gap fill on Sunday night. That gap fill, if we get the bigger sell-off, is closer to 25,500. It's 25,509 to be exact. Other than that, if we use the minor areas, 26,510, if we use the most recent harmonics, I assume we're going to get a pausing bar. 26,679 above 27,510. The Dow does not have a double. This extended too far beyond. Just going to be watching the Dow on a pullback closer to the gap fill and the 8 EMA. Right around 47. Let's see, the technical gap fill to that is 47,508. And is that right? No, sorry. 47,396. Sorry, 47,396. All right. Russell broke some key support, running up to test now key resistance, and now moving down. I'm watching for a continued pullback to 2463 area, especially if we take out yesterday's low. That's about it there. Now, first level resistance is still 2,500. Second is 2,518 area. VIX has a little mini potential double bottom. That's where I'll start. If this were to trigger, I'd start watching for the bigger, a little bigger potential pullback. Not a major potential pullback unless we get massive momentum. That's what we have right there. The DAX, not much to talk about. Still in the consolidation range. Come on down yesterday, really close to that key support, 24,080. More interesting. You had to trade this on momentum yesterday, but the 10-year coming down, hitting all three targets, had to be traded intra-day with the momentum, and now continuing lower. Actually back below this, just closing yesterday above the 62.5 on this run up, but now just falling. 75 is taken out. My next target is 112.13, where we have a pretty strong support base. The yields did trigger, could have been traded on this little potential pullback first. Second target's almost to the third target, 50 in the way of that. But for this, keeping an eye right now. Let me change this color. Keeping an eye closer. If we do take out the 411 target, I'm looking closer to 414 for continuing rising yields. 30-year also trigger, now could trigger a little mini double bottom. Crude, trying to hold this key support area. But if we do, I'm still watching for this potential gap fill right around 59.30, 59.40 area. If we do break down there, and I'm watching for a return to 58.81. Other than that, it needs to rotate back up and get above 60, 65 for another potential buy. We do have a percent B buy above yesterday's high. Gold, there is a mini potential double bottom. You see it right here. Needs a close above 40, 46.2, at least on a 4-hour basis. And that could potentially take it back between the 50 and the 62.5 harmonics. Targets 41,608, 41,137, and 41,63. Has not triggered yet. The percent B buy did not trigger yesterday. We came back down to form a potential double. And by the way, that double, if it hit all three targets and then rolled over, would not invalidate the head and shoulders. Silver did trigger the percent B buy yesterday. Coming back down to key support today. Target, my first target is still 49.64. Copper does have a mini double top against the rotation zone, but $5 and 496 are the two key targets on that. Dollar index. Here you go. Strong rotation back up. This was also a percent B buy bar yesterday and a rotation buy bar. That's why you got to have the percent Bs on your chart. Coming up, finally ticking off the 87.5 level without ever. Remember, we closed back above the 62.5 a while ago. Never invalidated that, hitting that 87.5. So I'm watching to see how it reacts close to this 99.80 area over the next few days. We are getting overbought. But this is breaking above another key level of resistance. It was a major resistance level right at this 99 area and breaking above it. So that's becoming minor support, major support back down about 98.50. Euro, from the flag pattern, rolling down, breaking it yesterday and continuing lower, now testing very key support. If this breaks, I'm watching for a potential return to closer to the 114.60 area. Yen weakening again. Coming up to test the top of the channel line. Going to get interesting. Remember that did close above the 62.5 again. Then we had a pullback in the rotation zone. Rotation back up. I'm still watching for the next target of eventually 156.50. Sorry, it's okay. Sorry you had a bad morning, Sterling. Spiders. Again, I'm watching the double tops in the NASDAQ and the S&P. That's what I'm watching now. We have the gap fill. So for the spiders, if we rally up and invalidate doubles in the futures, it would be to the gap fill at 680, 697. Other than that, the bigger picture stuff, if we continue to sell off, the first key area of support I'm watching is closer to 680 to 680.50. And then we still have a couple gaps left behind. The Qs, again, I'm watching the double in the NASDAQ futures. We have a gap left behind to 628.09. So that would be the first key target today if those doubles trigger in the futures. Other than that, if we rally back up, the gap fill to the upside is 635.77. Bitcoin breaking down. We had the double top, first target hit, second, third, and then continuing lower. Watching to see how it reacts right now at about 107, 600 area. So nice little double top there, pulling back into a key support area. That was pretty major support before, so I'm really focusing on that. If that breaks, then I'm going to be watching for a possible retest of the mid-October lows. Hey, Christoph. What else? What else do we have? Is that a day? We won Meta again? Yeah, this was a double top. It was a day, especially a weekly double top, and it's still playing out. You have that one, you have it in Chipotle's, they're still playing out. Possibly, Christoph. So, the only thing up 5% is inflation. What else? Soybeans. Continue. I'm still going to be watching, yeah, because there's the trade deal with China, or the trade framework, or it's not officially signed yet, but soybeans still up here. I'm still going to be watching because, again, this is a little overdone. Did pull back into the rotation zone and moved back up. Actually tested the levels we talked about yesterday. So if you didn't catch that, it's going to be a shallower pullback to about closer to 110. Other than that, nothing's changed based off where we talked about yesterday, about 114, 1142 is the next key target. Sorry, I was just still in stock mode. 1142 is the next key target. What else? How am I feeling going into the year end? Still, I'm very cautious. I prefer a nice sell-off, then get the year-end rally, because just how overextended we are, and we still have, remember, there is the hearings for the tariffs coming up on November 5th. URA, come on. Back in the weekly rotation zone, rotating back up right there. And we had the percent B buy. I think we talked about this the other day. The percent B buy, it's now closed. It's now closed yesterday above the 62.5. So I'm going to be watching. I mean, it's technically in double top territory. So for anything longer term, I think everybody knows the area I'll be watching. The area I'll be watching right here, because that would trigger a double top, which is completely valid. Other than that, It's back up. We return to the weekly rotation zone. Okay. So targets for me, the upside are 58.84. We take out the highs 62.17, 63.84, above 63.84 to potential double tops off the table. Key longer term stop is below last week's low. Now, if you're in a percent B buy, it would definitely be trailing at higher levels at this point. FI with the earnings, very big disappointment in FI with the earnings and just tanked, complete tankage there. I mean, we're trading back at levels from December of 18. There is a fair amount of support in this area, but oh, they'll probably get a bounce play at some point. There's just nothing yet. I mean, it would technically a percent be buy, but these are very, very risky on these kind of gap down moves. So over that, I'd just be watching to see if you get a longer term bottoming play. Gonna be a lot cheaper, but this miss was not good. Pretty big miss in revenue. Did I spot the weekly double top in the pound? Let's get to that now. There is the weekly double top. I have not highlighted in this channel. Thank you for pointing it out. There you go. It is confirmed. It is not yet triggered on the weekly basis, but it is confirmed. So we definitely have a shift in the dollar. And this could also be, I mean, the pound is a component of the dollar. We have the euro breaking down and we have the dollar strength. I'm watching for that potential double bottom to trigger in the dollar. But let's see if this triggers first. What else? Everyone wants to pull back first. Well, the problem is reward to risk on the year-end rally at least here. I mean, geez. Reward to risk. Is there some upside? Yeah. But geez, we got waning momentum. Look at this on the monthly again. This is an anomaly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, unless something massive happens, we're going to end up October up. 6 straight months without even a pausing month. All right? That's why reward to risk is not fabulous for a year-end rally. I mean, we did get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. But this is even on a percentage basis higher from these lows and the percent B buy that triggered back and the capitulation stuff that triggered in August. So that's why it can be traded scalping, but I would not be putting in, personally, would not be putting in a large positions based off a guarantee year-end rally. We could edge up, but again, the risk is to the downside right now. So yes, on a shorter term, on a swing trading basis, completely tradable. Potential year-end bounce. On a just buy and hold basis, wouldn't be putting all my chips into it. Is MO a good pullback? This I'm watching. Again, this is long term. And still got a 6.84 dividend yield, P to E ratio 12.23. Missed slightly on revenue. I'm paying attention to 61.26. There's a lot of support in here. If then that breaks, I'm looking at 59.80 for another potential bounce play. Is it still on my list? Yeah. See, look how over it got. I will be looking for still buy setups in the weekly rotation zone. That's the monthly. Sorry, we broke below the weekly. I'm like, that's not right. In the monthly rotation zone, because this really needs to reset. And then I'll be looking for a continued upward trajectory. U.S. Treasury section. The U.S. will suspend entity list restrictions. Uh. Oh boy. Oh no. Okay. There we go. Oh, look at that. That gap down with earnings. So we are going to be below 62.5 and the 200. So I'd be a little patient on this. Be a little patient and watch closer to about 57 for support. This is getting overdone. But there's no bottoming pattern yet. Thank you for putting that in there. I got to run into the open. Again, keeping an eye. It's not even confirmed yet, but keeping an eye on these double top patterns. I should say potential double top patterns. With that, I will talk to everyone later. Bye for now.